Welcome back. I hope the cluster sessions were very productive for you all. This is our final session of the day. This is a panel session on university with and for society promoting citizen science within open science. This session is due to last for an hour, and we're going to try and keep it as on time as possible because we know that some of you need to leave for travel connections and all that kind of thing. And if you need to leave during the session, that's also okay. So I'm going to pass you over to the chair of this session now, GEMMA MARFANY, who is the Rector's Delegate for Scientific Dissemination at the University of Barcelona.
Thanks all for staying here. I hope that now your glucose levels are increasing in blood, so that means that your neurons are going to be sharp and acute. Thank you for being here. I'm going to keep this session, I hope, dynamic and quick. There are, let's say, 4 contributions. And they have instructions to keep it more or less at 10 minutes. I'm going to be a bit strict on that, because then we have some discussion. And also, apart from the presentations, I asked all of them to have like a kind of take-home message that at the very end of the session, I'll give the word again to all of them so that they can give this message for you to go back home with something like food for thought. So indeed, open science, I don't think I have to introduce that. Everyone is very much aware of that society has to have access, free access, available access to information and research generated at universities. Indeed, not all universities are public, but many of them are. So that means that they are sustained by public funding. And then society is just only fair that they receive return for what they are paying for, and paying for is knowledge. So citizen science go further, much beyond this open science, because it's not only about generating knowledge that is available to everyone. This is indeed relevant, but I think that citizen science is more about empowering society, it's more about providing tools for getting knowledge. But even beyond that, it's about co-creating, it's also about making citizens an active part of research. And this is not easy, and has many, many different angles. So that's why we have proposed this session as a bit, it's not about generalizations of the topic. It's about how these different universities have dealt with this topic and how they have approached with some pilot programs or some activities, and so that all of us can learn and go back home with ideas that we can implement. So it's not only about providing a framework, but it's about providing hands-on ideas. So I think I'm going to move now. Really, because I have already said the main point of my message to you. So I'm going already to introduce the first university to present their experience is the Akademi, and they have come with 2 speakers so that they can complement each other. So I'm going first to give the word to MARKO JOAS, who is the Vice Rector for Collaboration, and then he's going to be switched by Mats LINDFELT, who is Director of Research Services. So please, whenever, come here.
Yes, thank you. And I hope I understand how this works. Downward, so obviously. Yes, thank you. I think I have this one. Yes. I will talk from an angle talking about how we started to work with citizen science, actually the work with creating support systems for citizen science at Åbo Akademi. My part here will mostly be around talking about why it turned out how it looks like now, and Mats will later talk more about the actual project, how it runs at the university. And there is a reason for many things And one reason why it looks like it looks at Åbo Akademi is the reason is Åbo Akademi. Åbo Akademi is a very small university. We have just less than 6,000 students. We have about 2,100 employees, and an annual budget about a bit more than 100 million euros. But we are also a science university, so there is much research done at the university. So it's a multidisciplinary, multi-subject university that resides on two campuses, one in city of Turku and the other campus in the city of Vaasa. We have committed to the declaration of open science and research quite for a long time already. I think if I remember correctly, we have been working with open science issues since 2015, around those years. And we consider that we have been able to implement that part quite well at the university. We are among the leading universities on different open science items in Finland, and that is quite well done for a university with a small staff. So we don't have many people around that, but the good thing being a small university is that we know our researchers, we know our personnel, so it's very easy to reach people in a small university. Last year, we started to think more about citizen science and introduced a new project for citizen science, pilot project. And that started to run from the beginning of this year. And in order to get it implemented well enough at the university, we actually put a steering board for it that we will lead from the rectorate. So I'm actually the head for the board for that pilot project. Even if it's a very small pilot project, still we wanted to actually develop and give it possibilities from the beginning so that we put the vice rector to work with these issues. But then again, citizen science as such is problematic. As I told you, we are a multidisciplinary university, and that means that we have very different kind of approaches to work with and for the society. I'm a political scientist myself, and I had difficult to understand that isn't everything that I do actually citizen science as a political scientist, at least with the methods that I have normally been working with different groups of people, with different stakeholders, all that. And then I was informed by my better colleagues who actually have been working more within the citizen science about the different kind of definition and different kind of approaches to that. Maybe most easy to define it, it's scientific research conducted with participation from the public, and this must come in different phases of the research project. It's co-creation with the public in the research process and two-way communication and education, both to and from the scientist and to and from the public. So in that sense, it's a bit more than just to work with the society. And that means that we have to look into it much more eagerly than we have done before. And still, it's one of the key issues for a university to do, actually, to work together and for the society. That's our task. So I think I actually leave it here, and Mats can talk better about the actual project that we are running.
I will slide in here now. Can you hear me? Hello everyone, my name is Mats LINDFELT. I'm from the same university as MARKO is, and we have two colleagues. Rector presented us earlier today. I'm representing the support services. I'm the director of research services at our university, and I've been following this project, this pilot project, for a while now. It's about to kick off. Marko mentioned that it started in January, February this year, and we will actually have a kick-off meeting next week at the university, where we gather some of the interested researchers who wants to work with the concept of citizen science. The project focuses on how we could support the researchers in engaging themselves in citizen science, what we call or what we mean by citizen science. And our task is to support, ask also what kind of support the researchers might need when they engage themselves in citizen science. We also are wondering how we should select the projects from different fields. What is the process within our university? We have to remember, Marko mentioned that this is, we're speaking now about the small university. This pilot is even smaller. So we are hoping to get some 3 or 4 projects, researchers that wants to deepen their knowledge in citizen science, and we are working from the support side on training them further on, with engaging them with society. So what we are asking them is, what kind of service do we as a university need to develop for the researchers and citizens respectively? This is a question we are asking ourselves and the researchers. What kind of collaborations and services within our university do we need to develop to support this project? This is more or less going on this year. It's a pilot for 2023. It involves, from the support side, the library, the Center of Lifelong Learning, and also from the communication department. And Marko also mentioned the Rectorate, and he is the representative from the Rectorate leading the project. So this is the core of the project, the pilot project. The pilot will focus on raising awareness amongst our researchers about citizen science and the general public, also by using a method of producing new knowledge and science impact. What we could gather as a term in collaborative research. That's one way of describing it. It will focus on developing support structures, as I mentioned, for the researchers, developing and training researchers in science communication, which is a good thing, I believe. And the whole thing will lead to citizens being active participators rather than objects of science. They are engaging in the research processes. Furthermore, about the project, we will arrange information sessions, workshops and webinars for researchers during this year, focusing on selecting relevant research projects for the pilot. We are not really there. I believe that we haven't chosen any specific projects, but we are looking or gathering interests, scientists from all of the faculties, all of the disciplines who wants to engage themselves in citizen science. Sorry? The call is out right now. Yes, we will work on developing information material on how to carry out citizen science together with the researchers in the pilot. So it's a co-creation process with the researchers and the support action services. At the end of the pilot, of course, we will evaluate what we have accomplished during this process. So it's a learning process for both the researchers and for ourselves at the support side. So let's see how it goes. We're looking forward to this project. Oh, that was basically it. And this is a picture of the archipelago in Åbo, Turku, and we're really looking forward to enjoying the summer. Thank you very much.
If we have time, we are going to keep questions by the end of the 4 contributions. Now I think we are going to move on to the experience of the Würzburg University and how the Service for Research and Technology Transfer are involved in actions that promote transfer of knowledge from the university to society, but particularly, I think, according what I have talked to the person who is going to talk, LUKAS WORSCHECH, head of division research and technology transfer, is about involving small and middle-sized companies. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I hope the talk is... much to be part of JARM-EU as a new partner and also within Torch. I asked the boss of Torch that we are allowed to take the corporate design of Torch already. So thank you very much. And I heard that you're also interested in practical advices. So from our part, so I'm from the Service Center International Transfer, where we recently were restructured. So we put together, in principle, the services for people who are interested in Erasmus and also for people who are interested in Horizon. And therefore, we believe we have there a new potential to bring this to a new level. The next point is that since several years we perform cooperation with small and medium-sized enterprises, and with respect to citizen science, we have the impression that especially very small enterprises, they have similar barriers to research compared to citizens, because we cooperate with a lot of enterprises, also very large ones. The large ones usually have the potential and the money for innovation in their own companies, but this is different for small enterprises. And therefore, they need networks and cooperation with universities. What we do in our service center, so we are a one-stop agent, and we want to give impulses from the university to the economy, society, via our research areas. In addition, we want to build innovative innovation structures and support the acquisition of collaboration and projects between science and industry. We also promote startups, and we are responsible for patents. For instance, in our service center, we administrate more than 1,000 patents. We have cooperations with several hundred regional partners and bring this forward. One tool, we do this via the structural fund. There is the European Social Fund and the Structural Fund, which support this networking in terms of science and technology. transfer, and I want to give you examples how we use this for citizen science too. You have examples from an ESF project, mainly performed by a professor in the field of economics and his teams. And in this, we make knowledge transfer, which is open to every employee, which is also seen as a citizen, and this is supported by the state of Bavaria. It is about learning and further training in digital things, and we exploit the potential of corporate data. This is done in 3 stages, and the formats are that typically there are 3 times delivered theoretical concepts. Then in addition to that, there are practical workshops, 90 minutes each, and they are certified, they are free of participation, there are no further obligations and contracts. And what the people then do, so they make new experiments with them. Here also we involve persons from didactics, educationalists, to create experiments with a low level so that citizens are interested in doing so. An example here is given by the Mainfranken Fair in Würzburg, where we invite people into our booth. So there are 20,000 square meter exhibitions, 23 halls, so the people can come, and about 100,000 citizens participate. And we have the first booth close to the entrance, so all the citizens came to our booth and they can make experiments. For instance, what you can see here, this is a kind of a digital sandbox which was created in cooperation with the didactics from geography, where people can then form a topological land, for instance a hill, whatever, and then they can simulate heavy rain and what happens to this. And so we can introduce the people and they have to solve certain challenges. In addition, also these ERP experiments, so enterprise resourcing planning projects, which were formally performed together with these SMEs, so we know what are the questions they want to know. We know how to bring them into these programs. They can test this at this booth and work together. And therefore, we have some inputs from the citizens to improve these experiments. Another example is here from geography. This is a project supported by the Structural Fund. It's this big data at geography. It is about the interaction to get a climate atlas with a very high resolution. And here the SMEs, they were allowed to bring in their challenges. And what the professor here, Professor Path and his team found out, that if you want to get citizens involved, for instance, what you can see here is that after certain climate events, heavy weather, heavy rain, you see here peaks in the interaction via programs, so that they become much more interested in interacting with them. Okay, so thank you very much. I hope that I can give you some practical insights.
Well, thank you. I think that now we have also new ideas that are, well, not easy, but I think that many institutions can be interested in implementing. And we have now new venues to progress. I think that now we can move to another university with a different type of experience, like, for instance, co-creation of projects with stakeholders that have very specific aims. So I'm going to give the floor to Ellen ROEMER, who comes from the Hochschule, Ruhr West, and she's going to talk about the type of experience they have in this university. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Is that working?
You are?
Yeah. Okay.
Is this your presentation?
Yeah. Is there a pointer that I can use?
There was.
Okay.
Grew Lake.
Maybe I use the. Can I use the pointer here? Yeah, but it's not shown on here. Pointer options. That one. Yeah.
Okay.
Is that working?
Yeah, the desktop is extended.
Oh,
so if you
okay,
go-
okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
So, thank you so much. Welcome to my presentation. I'm very honored to be here. My name is Ellen ROEMER. I'm professor of market research and international marketing at one of the universities that are taking part here in the TORCH program. I'm from Ruhr West, University of Applied Science. And in the name you already hear, it's a University of Applied Science. And maybe that gives also a new perspective into the TORCH project. So I'm very honored to be here. I'm here together with Ulja Vaupil, and we are here to get in touch with you to explore new opportunities for research, for collaboration, but also to get a better understanding of the TORCH project. Yeah, so today I want to talk about our experience as a very new university, as a new partner, but also as a University of Applied Sciences and our experiences in citizen science projects. So first of all, I have to say that I'm from the academic side, I'm from the researcher side, and I want to give you some insights into my work, into my experience as a researcher. But I'm, of course, not alone at the university, at the Ruhr University of Applied Science. So I have a lot of my colleagues who are doing similar projects. I didn't collect all those projects as, for example, LUKAS did, but I want to give you some insights into my work and maybe also some options for collaboration. Before I start, I'm a professor of market research, and my academic field is the adoption and acceptance of eco-innovations. So I'm looking at the human side of eco-innovations, green innovations, they're also called, and we're looking at human behavior, consumer behavior, how people react to innovation. So I'm more from the social sciences, and as my colleagues have already mentioned it, from politics, for example, we always deal with human beings. So for us, it's not such a new thing to be involved in citizen science projects because we always deal with human beings in our research processes. So that's two things that I want to mention before I continue. So before I start, I would like to give you some insights into my university. So we are still a very young university. I think we're probably the youngest university among the partners here. We were founded in 2009, and I started my career there as a researcher in 2010 with the new faculty that has been introduced then, the Faculty of Business and Economics. So I'm one of the oldest members of the university, so I'm very well connected, and of course I'm trying to explore also potential collaboration for my colleagues because I'm well connected also inside the university. We're in the western part of the Ruhr area, and the Ruhr area is an area that is very industrial, where there has been a lot of coal mining in the past, but now there is a structural change going on. And what politics wanted to do is to give a structural change to that area. So they decided to install two campuses for a new university, which is in Mülheim an der Ruhr and Bottrop. So the city councils applied for having new universities in their towns. together with the companies in these areas and also together with the citizens. So we were really much wanted by the region, by the citizens, by the companies, and of course the city councils. That gave us some good start also to start citizen science projects. We have 4 faculties. I'm in the Faculty of Business and Economics, but we were founded also as a technical university with natural sciences, mathematics, informatics, engineering, and so on. We have 32 degree programs, and yeah, about, I think this is an old number, so at the moment we have about 6,000 students. Yeah, where are we located? So just to give you an impression. Here you can see a map of Germany, and we're in the western part of Germany, but also in the western part of the Ruhr. Let me see if that, yeah. So here is the Ruhr area, that industrial area undergoing a structural change, and we are part of that change, of course. So the city of Mülheim is very diverse in, not so much in the sense of gender, so we only have female and male here. I have to apologize for that. There is no more diverse or other mentioned here. I think we're still in the change of collecting data on that. However, we also have a lot of immigrants. About 15 to 20% are immigrants. And also in terms of age, I didn't bring a graphic with that, but the city is aging quite a lot. So the city needed to have some fresh, new, young blood in the city in order to get a good mixture. So we have the baby boomers, that generation is very large. So in terms of age, that city is aging and we need a good mixture in there. This is to understand also how citizen science projects can be functioning in this area. So what is citizen science in the area of social science? And I thought maybe to bring it a little bit closer to you, I have written down our research process, and I think everybody that is involved in social sciences can well understand. So I briefly go through that process together with you. Usually at the start we have that identification of the research question. We have a certain need to do a research project, and in our projects the need already comes from the city council, the citizens, but also, of course, the SMEs in that region, NGOs as well, who have certain needs to do research. Then, what usually we design as researchers is to determine the research design. How can we answer that research question? With methods will we be using, qualitative, quantitative, observation, surveys, and so on. And then we have to develop our measurement instruments. I think this is not so clear for engineers, for example, because they already have their measurements. However, we as social scientists have to design these measurement instruments. For example, a questionnaire would be a measurement instrument for you. So that we have to design those measurement scales and then enter into data collection, then data cleaning and analysis, and of course then presentation, interpretation of the results. So this is the whole process, and then I dug deeper into the different types of social science, citizen science projects. And I found also the different categories that have been mentioned. So we have contributory projects, for example, where citizens are involved in data collection, for example, or also interpretation of data. And this is, I would say, the majority or a large share of the projects. Then we have collaborative projects. We actually do not do so many of those, but however, then we have the co-created projects where companies are approaching us, or NGOs are approaching us with certain research needs, so that we design together the research design, develop together questionnaires, for example, where we have the companies involved in doing pre-tests, for example, of questionnaires. They're involved in data collection, for example, when they actually distribute the questionnaire among employees or consumers via social media, for example. Then we do the data cleaning usually together with them, and the results are then discussed and interpreted together with those institutions. So this is to give you an idea how we usually work and how citizen science projects can come alive together with us in collaboration. So just to give you also a short overview of which kind of citizen science projects we have been doing, let's start first with the contributory projects, which are the lower level, I would say, projects. So what we have is usually scientific talks and discussions where for example, NGOs approached us to give a talk on labels, organic labels, and my colleague Ulja has already given some talks about her PhD thesis to the MIC. I encircled all of those activities in green because they always deal with aspects of sustainability, ecology, and so on. What we also have is a series of talks together with the citizens, and what we experience there, that a lot of locals come to us in order to know how our research is functioning and to get also involved in, for example, eye tracking experiments. Here we had also a workshop, it was an event which was called Nacht der Wissenschaft, Night of the Sciences, where citizens could come to the university and explore different projects. So what we did with them is an eye tracking experiment where you can actually have people wearing eye tracking glasses and having a look on the shelves of a shelf that we installed here. So these are some examples of the more lower level of citizen science projects. And let's come more to the co-created projects. For example, what we do here is to also apply for third-party funding projects on national and EU level levels. So, for example, we have a close collaboration with the City Council of the city of Mülheim an der Ruhr. For example, what we plan to do is, in order to have citizens participate in new construction projects. For example, I think everybody knows that if a city wants to restructure an area, there's always a big debate among the citizens, which kind of restructuring, construction should it be. And our plan is, for example, to have a digital twin, a 3D model of the planned area, and that citizens can, via gamification, try different measures, for example, to reduce CO2 in the region, and for example, installing in a virtual environment solar panels or wind engines. So we try to use gamification here as well in that project. So this project has not been submitted yet because working with city councils is sometimes very bothersome, and I will come to an end now. maybe another, just one final project is one with an NGO, which is also very interesting, a shop where citizens can borrow and lend, for example, some appliances that has an ecological component, and they want to do a project with us regarding the target groups and potential personas. What is important, the key message is, of course, you need engagement from both parts, from the universities, from the researchers, but also from the other parts, the cities, the council, the citizens, and so on. Networking, of course, is important. So you can use digital, of course, measures like social media, but I think also after COVID, it's also very efficient to have personal meetings and events. But the key and I think most important part is the non-scientific communication with the stakeholders. Because what I experienced, my colleagues and myself as well, we tend to use scientific language, technical terms, abbreviations, and so on. And we have to come to a more general level of language, but maybe also in regard to formats. How do we communicate our results in research? How do we communicate our process? And maybe we also have to think in a different way to use more audio, for example, more podcasts, to use more videos, short videos in order to communicate our results. Yeah, and what we need is, of course, that communication, and very important are also the intermediaries. So these are the citizens, and the intermediaries in between are also very important. So communication is very important, but I think at a non-scientific level. Thank you so much.
And we are now going to the last contribution of today in this panel session. Also, I think that next speaker, who is Dr. Josep Perelló from the University of Barcelona, he's going to talk about his own research project, but not only your own, but in collaboration. I think that now you're going to see also that it's very relevant, the contribution of stakeholders, people that are very concerned about some subjects or topics, in that case is mental health, how scientific and citizen science can work together. Please come ahead.
Yeah, yes, I'm going to share one specific project that I have been leading, and perhaps is the most ambitious that I have ever done in the context of citizen science. But before that, I would like just to mention, because everyone was talking about universities and also the efforts, I think that also, if you think about Barcelona and you mix this word with citizen science, you will find maybe one of the most active cities on citizen science, and we are quite proud of that. And I can tell you that also the mechanisms, and we can discuss later on this, is that municipality also, we have organized a kind of citizen science office with the municipality, and we have just organized all the groups around Barcelona, which are about 40 groups that are working on citizen science along all the universities. Another kind of a strategy that is also very important is training, and that's going to be one of the pilots in Torch. Okay, so we are going to develop a certified program on citizen science, and I think that that's becoming really an urgent issue, because the project that I'm just sharing you, I have been working on citizen science for 10 years, but nobody has trained me on any of the skills that are here, anyone. Okay, so that's something that in a way or another, maybe I have become also myself a citizen scientist, because I have been learning just with my own experience, okay, so on the things that I'm going to share. So more precisely, I would like to share a project that has just finished, that is on citizen social science, that was slightly mentioned before in the previous presentation. And also in one of the, as I said, one of the most extreme cases that we have been covering many aspects on citizen science from the beginning of the project. So this is an European funded project that was funded in the last calls on citizen science. There have been several, not in the new program, by the way. Okay, so now citizen science is something transversal. Okay, it should be everywhere, but in the end you can find out that is anywhere. Okay, so that's another discussion. No, but in any case, public engagement is an issue, but is not specifically in any of these calls. So, and this was one of the last calls on that, and we just finished a month ago. And you can look at the website if you want, because there's plenty of resources of the things that I'm going to talk. Okay, so the idea of the project is let's go and try to identify something that we call citizen social science and just do some specific actions. And in which of these actions we are going to co-design everything from scratch. Okay, and also to just to go as far as we can in terms of collective action and in terms of also delivering policy briefs and for politicians and for policymakers on these aspects. Okay, I'm trying to move the next slide, but now, okay. So these are the consortia, and also having in mind the take-home messages, I would recommend you, if you start working on a citizen science project, never do that alone. Okay, so in that case, so also we create a kind of collaborations with civil society organizations. Okay, so in our case from Barcelona, we collaborate with Salut Mental Catalunya, which is a federation of associations of persons with mental health problems and their families. Okay, so but in other cases like in Argentina, so it was just an effort that was a joint effort from a university and also a civil society organization. Okay. There are others that here that are more transversal, that are just dealing with open science and even open data activism, that I will tell you why they were engaged here. So the vision that we have on citizen science is, of course, we are talking about participation, but there are several schools on citizen science as well. Okay, so one of the key books, and very simple, very short, by the way, is talking about citizen science as a kind of practice that assists the needs and concerns of citizens. Okay, so it's not talking about data. Okay, so it's talking about citizens. Okay, and also on the other side, as a kind of form of science that is developed and enacted by citizens themselves. So that's a very extreme, I would say, and a very radical kind of understanding of citizen science. But that was at least our starting point in our project. Okay, so. And also, I'm coming from complex system science, and if we are talking about social, so I think that it's very important not to remove part of the social events or social phenomena from the rest. Okay, so it's very important to look at the phenomena where it is taking place. Okay, so that's also a kind of vision that I think that also citizen science can help a lot, because it's something that is you go to the place, you go to the wild instead of putting the phenomena in a lab and restrict the reality in a white cage. No? So in this sense, so the idea is also insisting on this principle of connection and association and relationship that is taking in social phenomena. So in our case, citizen social science, we understood that as a participatory research, of course, that is co-designed and directly driven by citizen groups with us, okay? But is that all of them, they were sharing a social concern. So in terms of citizen science, I would say not only in citizen social science, it is a knowledge that is co-produced in a situated condition, okay? So it's really localized. So the context is very important. Secondly, so the citizens are motivated because they are really concerned about the issue, okay? So they really want to do something on this. Okay, and finally, also because they want to do something, they don't just want to do something just for the pleasure of learning, okay, but because they want that some things might happen with that. Okay, so that's also very important. So we are imagining also that there is a kind of action plan based on data, based on evidence, based on the science that we co-produced. And finally, also we harness all this with a knowledge coalition. So there are already experts dealing with that topic. And I think that they are still very important in the process. So the idea is not to have also the citizens alone, but also to have other academics, other even policymakers that are already dealing with the problem, other civil society organizations that are already facing this challenge, and so on, but trying to also, through a citizen science project, unite all these forces and work together. Okay, so that's the kind of ambition, and also a second concept that is also very relevant for us is the notion of co-researchers. So considering that already citizens have already a knowledge, have an experience that is very, very valuable. Okay, so as a citizen science project, so if it is successful, you have to take as much profit as possible with already the knowledge that is already there, okay? So that they can already be experts in the field, and also in the sense also they can feel that with the global and the collaboration and the cooperation together, we can just get something that is valuable also for them, not only for academic purposes. So in that sense, what we select is 3 topics and a 4th one, and I think that today is an important one, maybe more than other days. So that is on gender equality, and the other ones are on mental health care, that I'm gonna focus on this one, on youth unemployment, meaning that in Vienna, for instance, they focused on doing a research with young kids that they are migrants and they don't have unemployment, they don't have any kind of education, and they could design a training program for them. Okay, so that's the kind of approach. And the second one is on environmental justice in Riachuelo, in Matanzas Riachuelo, which is a long river very close to Buenos Aires. And the idea here is that there are already some kind of environmental risk indicators, but these risk indicators are useless, because the conditions for these people, they have to drink this water, okay? So there is no other option, okay? So they have to drink because they don't have any other water, okay? So in that case, the environmental risk, it has been co-designed, or the indicators related has been co-designed with the people living there, okay? So that's the kind of approach. And also it was combined with a group of lawyers that they are defending the rights of the people living there. So going just now to the mental health case, so we started that before the pandemics, and now it's becoming maybe more important than before. So the idea is that we were finally decide with the civil society organization that we are going to focus on social support networks, okay? What does it mean that? So specifically means that this is the social environment that is just around the person that has a mental health problem. And that's just an informal environment, okay? So, World Health Organization and many other organizations, they say that they are very important to facilitate the recovery process of these people, to improve their quality of life, and to act as a preventive factor against isolation and social inclusion. So the idea is that, okay, so let's study these social support networks, but the problem, if you go to any repository worldwide, you will look for social support networks, you will see that there is no data, there is no evidence, okay? So there is no information about this kind of concept, okay? So we are defending in a policy level about something that we don't have any evidence, okay? So the point here was trying to understand how they work and propose specific actions based on the experience of the people that they are already in the system of mental health care provision, okay? So in that sense, that was the idea, okay? So that, for instance, one of the draws made by Pau Badia was a co-researcher, okay, with us, a professional draw as well. And he was just describing the experience of a person that was a family member of a person with mental health problems, okay? And she was talking about their friends, no? She really needs the support of the friends to be supportive to her son. Okay, so these kind of images were part of the conversation that start all the research process that can be summarized in this long arrow. Okay, so another thing that maybe to be afraid is that also if you start a kind of research process like that, it is long. Okay, it takes time. Okay, so that's the whole effort that we were just trying to do. So just to wrap up very simply, and the idea is that we finally build up a kind of writing workshops that people with mental health problems and their families, they were writing their personal experiences related to the social support networks. And now this is inside a chatbot in Telegram, and you're receiving this kind of stories, okay, there. Anyone that can subscribe to this chatbot can respond or to answer back whether you have been having a similar experience or whether around you somebody has suffered similar experiences, okay? So with this information, And if you want, you can just look at that. Okay, that's the chatbot. And the idea is to create a chatbot that the people, so the system is not a machine, okay? It's people like you or like me that are talking about their personal experiences, and you're receiving these messages and you're invited to respond to them, to collect data, okay? So that's something that we just used as a resource to write the stories, okay? And we share that with co-researchers, and then we collect data with previous sociodemographic information, very rich, okay? And then get data about these stories and whether they have been living for people, and we identified some prevalent stories, but these were identified by the initial co-researchers that started the research with us, which were 40 people approximately, okay? So the idea is that with this data collected with the chatbot, we got finally a lot of data, as you can imagine, and to use some methods that are from my field, for instance, okay, in complex system science, and finally reach out a specific kind of set of recommendations that are now inside the new National Mental Health Pact of the Generalitat de Catalunya, the regional government, that are just putting on the table the necessity of putting a lot of attention about social support networks. And that's the idea that we just finalized with a big assembly, and that's something that we already have established in a permanent manner that is going to be meeting every year and just discussing and revising the notion of social support networks based on the data that we collect, but also with the kind of research that also the Generalitat de Catalunya has already started in this direction. I don't want you to take more time with that, just to thank the rest of the team that we have been dealing the whole research, but especially the co-researchers that they were sharing their own personal and very intimate, lively experience on mental health, because without them, this research would be impossible. Thank you very much.
Thank you to all the participants. We are really tight on time because I know that many people have to take a flight. So what I will do, I'm sorry about that because we don't have time for questions, but we do have time for a small sentence per each. If you have, I think that the micros will be easier so that they can, each of them, have a sentence, a final sentence to just a take-home message for all of us. Okay. Yes, you can start because you've got, okay.
Yeah.
Please, Ellen.
Yeah, so my final message would be, that as I mentioned it in my last part, that non-scientific communication is really key to citizen science, but also for open science in order to really involve people, to get some understanding, in order to democratize as well. So non-scientific communication is really key, and we as researchers need to make an effort. But I think also the administrative staff, maybe there are some technical terms used, some abbreviations. Once I started reading into all the organizational material of the TORCH program, there were some terms I've never heard of. So maybe that is my key message. Try to communicate in a sense that everybody can understand.
Thank you. Now, please.
Okay, my advice is, so we came from a research intensive university, and there it is good to get involved PhD students together with an interesting topic. And if they coin their experiments a little bit by the interactions, as we did with partners from small and medium-sized enterprises, you create experiments and the involvement of citizens so that you can really guide results and innovation into a direction that society is more involved.
Thank you.
All right, from the support side, I would stress the training, and also you actually took my point earlier on, science communication skills that need to be trained, that that I think that we need to focus on at our university.
Thank you.
Yes, and maybe the lesson from my point would be that even if you have done citizen science for 20 years, you don't necessarily know that you have been doing it. And that's why it's also very important for universities to systematically think about the support structures for this kind of action and also see that the message is not only externally sent to the stakeholders, to the end users and the public, but also internally distributed so that all the researcher can be well, learn something from the process.
Thank you.
Very short. Don't do citizen science alone, please. So do it together.
Yeah, well, just to finish, I think that we are all aware that we have to empower society, to engage society in knowledge and science, particularly in this world that is full of fake news. So nowadays we cannot lose knowledge, science, and engage people. I would like just to end by just thanking the Trinity College Dublin for being the host of this very, I think, interesting and also, I hope, fruitful annual forum, a Torch second annual forum. And a big applause for all the contributors now, but all the contributors during this day. I think all the online people, all the present people, thank you for being here and go back home with new ideas. A big applause.
To our chair and our speakers there, I'd like to invite Associate Dean of Research, Professor Brian Broderick, to make some closing remarks to finish off our day.
Yes, thank you, Jenny. Yeah, so I won't take long. It's my pleasure on behalf of the hosts here, Trinity College Dublin, and our partners in the CHARM Alliance to bring this event to a close, the second Torch annual forum. I'd like to thank everybody for attending, both in person here and online, and for all of the participants, and for their contributions, and hopefully the exchange of knowledge that we have today is useful. I need to thank some people who contributed to the organisation of the event. Of course, an event like this doesn't happen by accident, so in particular, I can't name everybody, but I'd like to mention Siobhan and Nina and Connor as the Trinity College group that organised the event here. Maria in Elta, who did a lot of work on the communications, and Jaime from Barcelona, who did a lot of work in putting the programme together. The programme, I hope you agree, was an impressive one, and we had a very strong list of contributors from European university associations, from the Commission, from research funding organisations, and really, I think, impressively from, I think it's 15 European university alliances. So it's really great to see that network starting to develop and to build its strength. It's clear that the European research area is changing, and it's clear that the way that we work, we do our research is changing, and who we need to research with is changing. But it's also clear that the alliances are going to play a strong role in that, in charting that future for European research. And the theme of the conference today was collaboration, or transformation through collaboration. So I think that you can get that message from today. We can help that change, we can help that transformation by collaborating together. So thank you, everybody. Have a safe journey home, and I hope you enjoyed the event. Thank you.